What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another live stream. Happy Monday, people. Hope you're well. It's been a crazy weekend, to be fair. Manchester City secured the treble. Something that, you know what, I got to be honest, I didn't think I would see for a long time. But fair play to them. Apologies for being late, people. We got a lot to talk about today. Saliba, he signed the ting, new contract for him. Reece Nelson, he's signing the ting as well, new contract for him with a big pay rise. Declan Rice, rumours of an offer being made this week. And obviously Timothy Castagne, the name that we are being linked with. And I don't think we'll be overly excited with that kind of deal, to be honest, but we will talk about that. And obviously we're going to talk about the Champions League victory for Man City and what it means for Arsenal and what maybe we have to do moving forward as well. Because for me, well, we're going to talk about that in greater detail as well. But big up to everyone locked in. Hope you're well. Hope you had a great weekend. It will start to liven up a little bit this week. The transfer window opens officially on Wednesday morning. I'm going to start doing a daily show every morning around 7-8 minutes, pre-recorded, all the latest transfer news surrounding all the big clubs. So look out for that, and then we'll have the live streams in the afternoon as well. And then on Thursday, the fixtures come out on Thursday, so we'll know how we're starting the new season. We obviously had decent fixtures this year, and I think it had a big impact on the way that we started the new season. So it'll be interesting to see who we get at the start of this season. So yeah, lots to look forward to this week, and lots to talk about today. So big up everyone locked in. Make sure you like the video and all of that stuff, people. Let's get into the show. No messing around. I want to start off talking about Manchester City and this treble that they completed over the weekend. Now, I've had a lot of discussion and debate with friends and people about this over the weekend. First of all, it's an unbelievable achievement no matter what anybody says. Yeah, we can talk about the money that's been spent. We can talk about the 115 charges and this, that, the other. But to win a treble, especially in this country, is an unbelievable achievement. I saw a stat that Man United have spent more than City in the last 5 years. When you look at the difference between the two clubs, it shows it's not purely just about money, although money is probably the main factor of it. And City fans will probably own it anyway. I think what we have to understand as a football club now is that the game has changed. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when Chelsea were taken over, people looked down their nose at what was happening there. You know, a lot of Arsenal fans' feeling was, oh, they've bought it all. It's not real. You're a plastic club. You haven't won it legitimately. Now, 15, 20 years later, let's keep it 100. I'm speaking for myself. If you agree, let me know in the comments. We all want the same ownership model that Manchester City have got. The same thing we were criticising, pointing our fingers at and looking down our nose at 15 years ago. We're now looking at it saying, we want that. I want owners that pump money into the football club, because ultimately it's very difficult to achieve and maintain long-term success if you don't have that. Now, don't get me wrong, Liverpool have won every trophy in the last 4 years and they are not state-owned, but it shows that they're not able to maintain it without investment being pumped in and pumped in. Let's be real, growing up, Man United were the dominant team in England. Arsenal picked up their title every few years, but United were the dominant team. Why? They had the most money and they became the biggest club in the country. This, for me, and I'm with you, SLD, I want the club dripping in oil. Yeah, I don't care. People can say, yeah, we don't want it like... No, bring oil to the Emirates. I want the club looking like a petrol station. There's so much oil there, right? I want us to win. I want us to be at the top, and I want us to dominate, right? I'm not interested in, like people saying, the local businessman, boyhood Arsenal fan, buying the club. You ain't winning Champions Leagues like that anymore. It's changed. The King of Spain owns part of Real Madrid. That's the difference. You need major investment. This, for me, Now, of course, we can all say, yeah, 115 charges. You know, the interesting thing about Man City winning trophies, it doesn't bother me from a point of view as if Man United win a trophy, I know my phone's going to start going off because I've got friends who are Man United fans and they'll start gassing Liverpool, them clubs there because they've got big fan base. When Man City win a trophy, my phone doesn't vibrate. I don't hardly know any Man City fans. So it doesn't bother me from that sense. What bothers me is I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, 2004, we were invincible, the best team in this country, right? Looking ahead, you could only see major success for this football club, bigger and better things, Champions Leagues. I sit here today and the thing that bothers me about this is if I could sit down with the people that run Arsenal, I would say, how on earth have Chelsea and Manchester City won a Champions League before Arsenal? I got to go full screen. And this is the genuine question for me. How, since this, Gold Premier Leagues, how have Manchester City and Chelsea got a star above their badge before Arsenal? Now, the answer would be the investment and the money. But I'm talking about from a footballing point of view. How have you allowed us to fall down that ladder? You look at the 6 biggest clubs in the league, business-wise, United, City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea. Only us and Tottenham have not won a Champions League. Now, we know what Tottenham are. And let's be honest, they got to a Champions League final not so long ago. But we're not really interested in them. I want to know how they have won Champions Leagues before us. What are our ownership model thinking watching that? If I was the Kroenkes and I watched Man City lift that Champions League, I'd be like, nah, something's not right here. We shouldn't just have to keep watching other teams get major success and we're just sitting here. And people say sometimes I'm too harsh on Arsenal, on the club, and too demanding and complaining about certain things. But for me, I don't know about anybody else, it bothered me as an Arsenal fan watching Manchester City win that Champions League. Because they've got a star above their badge. Because they will get a generation of football fans now through that success. Young kids, they follow success. They follow top players. So for me, that has to be a major wake-up call for Arsenal Football Club. How a team that was in League One at the start of the decade are now champions of Europe, the best team in the world through investment. Our club needs to wake up. We need to get back to that level. It's not. I'm not interested in competing. As much as that might make me sound a bit of a glory fan. It's been 20 years, people. It's been 20 years. I'm not interested in competing. I won't celebrate competing. That should be the bare minimum for Arsenal to compete, which is why I said the season ended quite disappointingly for me because I think we could have won the league this year. So the club have to wake up. If the Kroenkes do not go for it this year, they are finished for me. If they go for it, I'll hold my hands up and say, okay, you've changed your mindset. You do want to win major trophies now. If they do not go for it this summer, they will never go for it. It's over. The fan base should be at the Emirates protesting. They're done. They're finished if they don't go for it. If they go for it, cool, we'll hold our hands up. We have to accept that they've changed their mentality. I'm sick of everyone else. We always applauding everyone else. Always the bridesmaid. Denver Nuggets going to win, the NBA. Stanley Cup and LA Rams winning the Super Bowl and Man City winning the treble. When are we going to win the Premier League? When are we going to win the Champions League? As an Arsenal fan right now, hand on heart, we're going in the Champions League next year, but we all know we're not going to win it. I'm just saying it as it is. We know we're going in the Champions League next year to make up the numbers. Maybe get to a quarter-final and get a pat on the back. I want Arsenal to be in that Champions League going, listen, it's going to be tough. Man City are here, but look at Inter Milan. Inter Milan are not world beaters. I didn't look at Inter Milan on Saturday and think, wow, what a team they are. I looked at them and thought, you know what? You work hard. You got a couple of top players, Barella and that, but you got a good Champions League draw. Porto, Benfica, AC Milan. Before you know it, you're in the final. This football club has to wake up. We have to demand higher standards. We can't keep accepting failure and dressing it up as success. Otherwise, we will never get back to the top. And that's the end of it. That's the end of my discussion. Listen, Man City, fair play to them. I actually don't have any problem with what they've done, because I don't think a small club can ever compete financially with Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, unless somebody pumps money into that football club. Now, they've got 115 charges against them, and if they get done for that, then so be it. Make sure you throw the book at them. People also have to understand Manchester City were done in 2020 for financial irregularities, and they were fined 10 million euros. They were actually banned from the Champions League for 2 years. They took it to the Court of Arbitration and it was overturned, and they ended up with a 10 million euros fine. It will probably be something similar this time. Man are saying end the stream. Listen, I had to start like that. I had to start like that because I'm sick of it. I got to be honest. Watching Man City win the treble, I'm like, what is going off here? We used to go and play these man and just roll these man over. Man City were like Crystal Palace or, just a little meaty team in the Premier League. No disrespect. They're a team who just went there and collected 3 points. They're the best team in the world. We need to wake up. We definitely got to wake up. But listen, I suppose we have made progress. So let me not, get carried away. But I'm frustrated. I'm sick of it. We need to get back at the top table. We need to be more ambitious. We need to be more demanding. It shouldn't be, Declan Rice or Caicedo. If you need them both, buy them both. If you need them both, buy both of them. If I need milk and cereal, I buy milk and cereal. I don't buy cereal by itself and put tap water in it. I need the milk. I need the cereal. Get Rice and get Caicedo. We ain't broke out here. This guy's worth 12.5 billion. His wife's worth 15 billion. They've got the dough. The fan base need to wake up, man. We have to. I'm telling you. But anyway, there we go. There we go. So let me not harp on too much. I'm vexed, people. That man got Pep Guardiola winning trebles. Talking about he wants to win the quadruple next year. Man's not sitting there going, yo, I'm delighted we won the Champions League. He goes, yo, we missed out on one of them. Should have won the Carabao Cup as well. It's wild. It's wild. But hey, it is what it is. City getting Vardio, and we want... And then I see a thing today that City are going to give Pep up to 300 million to spend. 300 million. He's won the treble, and they're going to give him 300 million. Listen, look in the mirror, Arsenal, and start fixing this, because it's serious. No one's going to get nothing out here unless they look in the mirror and start doing something. But anyway, big up my brother Fran in the chat. There's levels to this game. They're showing, man, levels right now. I can't lie. Alexander, I cannot stand this new narrative that City are just well run when they have the best everything, not just players and managers, but staff. Yeah, but they didn't have them. They hired them. They realised. You saw with Chelsea this year. If you pump money into the wrong thing, it isn't going to work. It's like investing your money into the wrong crypto. You're going to end up broke. You got to know what you're doing. Todd Bowley spent $500 million. They finished 12th, which shows it isn't all about money. You need the right people in the right positions. They got the right technical director. They got the right coaches. They got the right manager. They got the right training ground, the right stadium. Everything is in place for that club to go and be successful. Now, that's what Arsenal need to do, top to bottom. It's not just about the players, not just about the manager. Everything needs to be working. Edu's got to do his job this summer. Go and sell 8-9 players and make 100 million in player sales. Go and negotiate the biggest transfers you've had to since you've been at this football club. Not just Portuguese-speaking players, not just release clauses, and not just players, no disrespect to Ramsdale, but players from clubs where the negotiation is easy. He's got to prove he's an elite sporting director. And then it filters down. That's what Arsenal have to do, you know? Fitz said, we will never win the Premier League or Champions League with these owners. I mean, when I tweeted that, Fitz, you should have seen the comments. You know, Kroenke's fan club were in the comments, but it is what it is, bro. Miguel said, board moves like Biden, lots of promises, minimal effort. We'll see if it's real this summer, bro. That'll be the proof's in the pudding. Bleck said, plus no one is thinking about City's transfer plans. That man won the treble, and man's getting 300 million. They're going to go again. Gundogan and these men are in their 30s. They'll freshen up. You know what Pep's like. Sterling, he showed him the door, and it was probably the right decision. And a lot of people at the time thought that move was too early. O'Malley said, if you deep City's bench for the final, they had Alvarez, Laporte and Mahrez. Maybe Phillips you take, but who else? Give Pep his credit. One thing you've got to say about them, and this ain't a fan fest for City and for Pep Guardiola. In life, if you're not at the top of your game, you've got to look at the people at the top and say, what are they doing? You still do it your own way, but you've got to look at how they've done it. Pep has spent a fortune. There's no doubt about that. But he's not signing the best players in the world. Outside of maybe Haaland, he's still signing players that are extremely talented but still have room to be coached and manoeuvred. He's not signing Mbappe and Neymar and Messi and Ronaldo and the very, very pinnacle. He's signing top players like Rodri and Gundogan and, you know, players that are top quality but still have room, still have hunger to improve. So, listen, we got to look in the mirror and see what we can do about it, people. I don't want to keep seeing everyone else win. AFC Steve, I've no interest in the league. I only want our first Champions League. I mean, listen, I'll take any of them two right now. I'll take any of them. Anyway, Nadir said the Curtis and Turkish show going to have an age rating. Yeah, well, cold hard facts, people. Our squad isn't at the level of City. I think you could argue that the Liverpool squad probably wasn't at the level of City, but they still managed to win a Champions League, a Premier League. You've got to manoeuvre in the right way if you're not going to spend big. You've got to be very clever with your recruitment. Liverpool got Robertson for 8 million and Trent came through the youth system, and you know, so you've got to work properly with what you've got at the same time if you can't spend what they're spending, you know. If they care, Ricedo minimum for the shopping spree. That's just the start of it, bro. You know, I ain't even filled up the trolley yet. That's got to be the start of it. Broad said, I'll take Jared Bowen. Who else? We know he's got shares in that deal. Big up yourself. Bowen's on fire. And he's Danny Dyer. You know the words anyway. Aiden said, a boxer will study his opponent, see what they're doing. We need to do that with City. You have to. We can't ignore them. We can't just keep, they're cheating money. And nah. We have to study them and do it our own way, you know. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk transfers. I suppose the way to move forward is going to be transfers. I'm going to start with this story, though. And I'm not doing this to throw shade on the player because I don't like to do that. He is one of our players. But I just want to know your opinions on this. Personally, again, maybe when you get older... You look at things a little bit different. Personally, I don't like this story, but I want to know your thoughts. Alexander Zinchenko. Maybe I'm looking at this too much, but I want to know your thoughts. Man City win the Champions League. Fair enough. You're a former Manchester City player. You've got friends at the club. Fair play. It is what it is. But Zinchenko, on his Instagram story, puts up the poster, Champions of Europe. 22-23 Manchester City celebration picture. Now, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm turning into Patrick Truman out of EastEnders. Maybe I'm becoming an old man, you know what I'm saying, and we moan too much. Maybe this is the modern game. Maybe it's not a big deal, right? It's not a big deal. But for me, this is the reason you have a telephone. Because your friends at Manchester City, send them a message. Read the room. Yeah, you're congratulating your former club. Not a problem. I get that. He probably still has a lot of feeling for the club and a lot of friends there. But for me, you don't do it on social media when you know that that is the club that we've just spent the whole season having a title challenge with that took the title away from us. I'm sorry, maybe I'm getting old. Maybe I'm not in touch with the modern game. I don't want to see one of my so-called leaders of this football club doing this on social media. I don't. Send 25 WhatsApp messages to every single Manchester City player. Send Pep. You know, even cry. Send a video message crying if you need to. But you don't go on social media when you're an Arsenal player, when we've spent 12 months fighting against them for a title and didn't win it, for you to put a poster up on Instagram knowing that most of the Arsenal fans probably follow you on social media and they're going to see that. I'm like Temmie saying you're reading too much into it. Fair enough. Listen, some of you might just say it's not a big deal. Former City player and he's happy for his former club. Me, I'm saying it as it is. I do not want to see that. I don't want to see that. Send them all a message. By all means. You knew what you was doing putting it out there. You wanted everyone to see it. That's not what I want to see. You're meant to be a leader of this club. One of the leadership groups. I never seen Gabriel Jesus put that up. That for me is poor. That is the wrong message to be sending out. That tells me that your mentality's not right. Your mentality's not right. Keep that private. And I would actually be sending that picture to the Arsenal players and using that as motivation. You know what I mean? But hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. I don't know. Listen, I want to know your opinion. Big C people congratulated Aubameyang. I think it's different though. You know, if he played for Real Madrid and did this, it's not a problem. We're not in the same league, bro. This is the team we've gone head to head with this season that caused us a lot of pain. So I'll move on from it. I'll move on. It's not worth a poll. We move on. Let's not make a big deal out of it. But I don't like that. I don't like it. Gunnar, Castagne and Havertz a great window. None of them deals better happen. Agent 47 in the work says Bleck. Like I said, man, sometimes I look at myself as well, you know, and say, do you know what? The era that you grew up in football, this is not the same one. This is the era where, you know, players swap shirts at half time in games that you're losing. Maybe I have to look at myself and say, you know what, you're moving like it's not them harsh, tough times in football. I don't know. Big up McLovin. I'm on the M2 and I see this. Once a blue Big C. You've got him, man. You've got him. He was probably crying on Saturday night. Tears of joy for City. Like I said, you're always going to have feeling for your old club. I do understand that. I expect him to be happy. But I just think putting it on socials is the wrong thing. Football's changed. Yeah, it must have. It must have. Fam, you woke up on smoke today. Everything okay? No, I'm not happy, bro. They just won the treble. We didn't win nothing. I'm vexed. Gary said, no, you're right, Curtis. It's weak mentality. He needs to be sold. I mean, listen. I'm not saying sell him. I'm saying I'd be pulling him up. He'd be in the office for me. I'd say, bro, what's this all about? We're in competition with these, man. But anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. I don't want to... We've seen enough tears of Zinchenko anyway. Let's move on. Let's have some good news. I don't want to just come in here and let off the clip all morning. William Saliba has signed a new contract. Well, he hasn't actually put pen to paper, but he's agreed it. The deal's done. The deal's done. Cross the T's, dot the I's, it's done, people. David Ornstein dropped the bomb on Saturday morning, it was. And he announced exclusive. Arsenal have reached an agreement with William Saliba over a new 4-year contract. The 22-year-old had 12 months on his existing deal. Fresh terms will tie him down until at least 2027. Amid strong interest from the Premier League and abroad, now onto the paperwork stage. Now, a story's come out this morning because I was saying this the other day. Who was the English club? And apparently it was Manchester United. Stories come out today that Manchester United, PSG and Real Madrid were all in contact with his agent. So, big up Kev. Kev was spot on. He obviously had a little nod from someone that that this was done. So, big up to Kev with the inside scoop. But I think we do have to... Listen, with me, I'm somebody that... I believe in life you have to add balance. I can criticise the club when I don't agree with things, and I will do. But I do have to congratulate the club on getting this contract done, because I've always said I thought this one was one that was hanging in the balance. And let's be honest, Real Madrid can turn people's heads, and he could have got in that Madrid squad, I'm sure. United, probably not. PSG, well, he could have got in the United squad, but I'm saying there's no real reason for him to leave Arsenal for United. I always felt that PSG and Real Madrid would tempt him. So I am going to congratulate the club for getting this deal done. Apparently, it's a 4-year deal with a 1-year option, which is fantastic. We know that Saka's did not have a 1-year option, which wasn't great because after 2 years, you're back in a dodgy situation, but at least he signed. So congrats to the club. They haven't announced yet how much he's on a week, but who cares? This is probably as big as any transfer that we conclude this summer because he's the best defender at the football club. And it sends out a positive message that our best young players are extending their contracts. That's Martinelli, that's Saka, that's Saliba, that's Aaron Ramsdale. Obviously, they're in talks with Odegaard. So fantastic news. 4 years plus 1. They haven't announced yet how much it will be, but the Rolls-Royce has signed a new contract. Report saying it's about 190k. I did see that. So listen, fair play, great news, and it is what it is. Terry said, message the club privately, not live on air. Yeah, I hear you on that. Arsenal Vlogs. Curtis, do you think Saliba signing a new deal is so much important? Do you think he's worth 200k? I think it's absolutely vital that he signed a new contract. He's that good. He's that good. He could play for anybody in the world, in my opinion. Do you think he's worth 200k? Every single day of the week, he's worth 200k. Fofana's on 275 grand a week at Chelsea. He's not as good as Saliba. This is the going rate for top quality young players. Foden's on 220k. Jadon Sancho's on over £300,000 a week. Saliba's 22 years of age. He's worth every single penny of 200,000. So fantastic news. At least we can relax with the contract renewals and we can move forward. So I can congratulate the club at times. Gabriel, Saliba, both signed new deals. Gabriel's last season and Saliba's now. So listen, fantastic news for Arsenal and something that needed to happen. And I'm glad they've got it done. The one thing you'll say, and a lot of people have been saying this as well, let's just hope that that back injury, doesn't have any long-term effect, which hopefully it shouldn't. He didn't have to have an operation. So hopefully with just some, simple rest, we get him back for pre-season. But it's massive, massive, massive news that he has signed a new contract. Now, let's talk transfers. Everything with Arsenal has balance. So there'll be some good news and there'll be some maybe not so good news, people. Well, Nimbo said now on to the bad news. Now, we're being linked with a player that, when I first read this, I was baffled. Then I looked into it a little bit and I thought, it is typical Arsenal. Can I get a positive spin on it? I'm going to struggle. Maybe some of you have seen him more in the comments, so let me know. As you can see in the title, Arsenal are chasing Leicester City right back Timothy Castagne. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Is it Castagne? Castagne? They've opened contact between Arsenal and Leicester. The move could be sealed quickly. And Sacha Tavolieri is a reporter from Belgium. He's usually pretty good. He was one of the first to announce that Trossard was going to Arsenal. So he obviously has the inside scoop on players from Belgium. I'm just not sure on this one. I'm gonna... How am I going to break this down? Let me just add... All right, okay, I'll give you my opinion, then we'll break down some facts. Looking at it from an Arsenal perspective, why are they going for him? I think that Arsenal are going to continue to play Ben White at right back next season. Hey, Georgie, let me know you're a Leicester fan. Please, give me a little sentence. How good is he? Let me know. I think that Arsenal are going to play Ben White at right back next season. He's had a very good season. So while we're sitting here going, get me Cancelo, get me this right back. Cancelo will cost 40 plus million. City may not even sell him to us and he's going to be on nearly 200 bags a week. Plus, he's going to want first team football, right? I think that Arteta is looking at Ben White going, you're going to be my right back next season. You know that Arteta is very loyal to the players that he's got. He's not just going to turn on Ben White and go and sign Cancelo and bin Ben White. So I think that's why they're going to try and sign a right back that's probably a level below like a Cancelo, that isn't going to cost too much, that's not going to complain at being a backup. We know that Tomiyasu doesn't start next season. He's injured until the end of September. That only gives you Ben White. They signed someone like Castagne. He can play right back. He can play left back. Also, just to give you a little bit more detail, he used to play for Genk in Belgium. At the time, Airpod Albert was working at Genk. And at the same time, Leandro Trossard was there. So Airpod Albert has probably said to Mikel Arteta, he's a good player. I've worked with him before. He's got a good attitude, blah, blah, blah. Leicester want £23 million. I'm going to give you the other side of the argument now. That was me being calm, giving you the angle that Arsenal are probably looking at. 23 million quid, versatile, won't complain being on the bench. He earns 60 grand a week. You've only got to give him 75, 80. And he's got experience. He's played for Atalanta in Europe as well. Played for Leicester. He's 27. He's got Premier League experience. That is the stopping point from there. That's the most positive I can give you. That's the most positive that I can give you. Now let me give you my opinion on this deal. At this moment in time, I don't want him. I don't want him. And I didn't want Ramsdale. And Ramsdale's turned out pretty good. So it's not like every player that we don't want always. Sometimes they work. So he could come to Arsenal and be a really good fullback. So let me not totally write him off as a player, but I'm keeping it 100. Right now, at this moment in time, I don't want him at Arsenal Football Club. It's as simple as that. Yeah, McLovin, I'm not on that. If Arteta wants him, then I want him. I agree with that with certain players, but I am not excited and I'm not particularly in support of this deal. I tell you why. Number one, the times I've seen him play, I just think he's an average right back. I have seen nothing special from this guy at all. And £23 million for a 27-year-old right back that's just been relegated to the Championship. I genuinely don't know how Leicester can get that much money for him. We can't get £20 million for Matteo Guendouzi, 23-year-old French international centre midfielder. So how the hell can they get 23 million for a right back when you're in the Championship? I mean, Elliot said the question is, do you trust the Arteta talent ID? On one hand, Odegaard and players like that, I do. But then on the other hand, Pablo Mari, Runarsson, Cedric. So it's 50-50, Elliot. George has come back and he's a Leicester fan. He said 6 out of 10 players last season, 6 out of 10 players last season he was shocking. A lot of sloppy goals came down his side when playing right back. On the left, he was okay. I mean, that doesn't fill me with optimism. That doesn't fill me with optimism. I get it. As I said, Arsenal, in my opinion, are not going to sign a top quality right back and just bin Ben White. I don't think that Arsenal will do that. Ben White costs £50 million. I just don't think he's worth £23 million. Is he that much better even than Cedric? He's not better than Tomiyasu, what I've seen of him. I thought the whole point was to buy someone better than him. So I don't know about this one. Yeah, you know, we've waited 6 years to get back in the Champions League. I'm looking for big signings, man. Not Timothy Castagne, who's being relegated with Leicester. Now, let's be honest, this deal might not happen. It could be paper talk. Like Georgie said there, every season a Leicester player gets linked with Arsenal. Jamie Vardy back in the day. Then it was James Maddison. Then it was Tielemans. And to be honest, we haven't signed anyone really from Leicester. So it could just be another one of them. You know what? Let's get the first poll of the day up, because we're being linked with him. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. Timothy, I got to be honest, right? And you know me, I shoot straight from the hip. This is the kind of signing I would have expected when we was finishing 8th. Let me just say it as it is. This is not a team that's just finished 2nd, that's trying to catch Pep Guardiola's treble winners. This is not the kind of transfer that I want to see. This is when you've just finished 8th and you're signing someone for squad depth from a relegated club. So I hope this isn't true. I really listen. He might be a steady right back, and AirPod Albert might have worked with him, and he can play right back, left back. This is not sending out the right message for me. What's the point in the transfer? I get it. Not everybody that you sign is a starting lineup, top quality player, but this guy it's not the one. It's not the one for me at all. He's not better than Ben White. He's not better than Tomiyasu. What the hell is the point of paying £23 million for a guy that in reality would be your third best right back? This is a complete and utter waste of money, in my opinion. I'm sorry. You know me. I'm saying it as it is. I could be sitting here in 8 months' time completely wrong. He could come in and be a solid right back for us, and I could be holding my hands up saying he's good. But I'm sorry, for me, he would be our third best right back. I don't think he's better than Tomiyasu or Ben White. So why are we paying £23 million for him? So yeah, I'd rather have Matty Cash at Villa, said Shaquille. So would I. At least he gets forward well. I really don't want this guy. I think it's a poor signing. KS said maybe he's a cheap option that allows for Caicedo. Maybe. I don't even think you need to sign him, to be honest. I think you're better off just saving your money, said KS. Jarzy said one of the best in Europe, but ruined by Rodgers. Fair enough. I want to hear that balance. He was at Atalanta, a decent team. He starts for Belgium. There has to be some quality there, but we'll see. Jarzy rates him. Juice Sauce said I'd take him for like 15 mil as a backup at most. Brio said I hope Edu's team isn't content with the previous level. They got to step up. Black said we haven't been in the Champions League since Arteta was playing. Raw, that's crazy. That is crazy. Tyson trading. Liverpool signed Robinson. No one really knew about him. Oh, Robertson. Yeah, true. Circumstances were a bit different, though. Liverpool at the time when Klopp went in, they were in the Europa League. They weren't in the Champions League. And Robertson cost £8 million. So financially, you're looking at it going, well, it's £8 million. It's not nothing major. And they was in the Europa League, so the demand wasn't as high for Liverpool. So I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, we're in a different situation to what Liverpool were in, Yeah, and Robertson wasn't 27, he was younger. So Castagne, you're going to look at and go, well, he ain't going to get much better. She KFC said he had a nightmare with Leicester last season and is a loser. So he doesn't rate him too highly. Just promote Norton Cuffy, said Ice Age. Yeah, I'd rather see that. Why don't we sign Caicedo, play him as an inverted right back? Why not? He played outstanding against us. So as I said, Timothy. Man like Timothy, Timmy! Who used to say that? That was South Park, wasn't it, or something? He's 28 in December. Made 37 appearances last year for Leicester, so he played in all but one game. 2 goals, 3 assists. They signed him from Atlanta in Serie A. And like I said, he played for Genk in Belgium, where AirPod Albert was a coach. And Trossard was there as well. Yeah, Timmy! Yeah. Listen, this is just no. I don't want him. Gareth said Cancelo is a petulant diva, not needed. The thing with that, though, that's that fallout at Man City. Are we just holding that against Cancelo? I hear this narrative all the time now that Cancelo's got an attitude problem, but I didn't hear that before the fallout at Manchester City. He was in the team of the season, and naturally I think that any player that is not playing and leaves under those circumstances, you're maybe going to fall out with the manager. I think that's just the reality of the situation. So is there really an attitude problem with Cancelo, or is it just because he had a fallout with Pep? McLovin said a good bench is built when players challenge for the first team spot. That's how Pep can bench Walker for Akanji. You're absolutely spot on. I've said this for years and years and years. For years I've debated about players like El Neni. I say every summer, get rid of El Neni. And some people go, yeah, but he's a good squad player. I'm like, no, he's not good enough to start on a consistent basis. You need players on the bench that are challenging for the players in the starting lineup. If they're not, then they're just squad fodder and they're not sufficient backup players. Sometimes a player can step in for 2-3 games, but not for 10, 11 games. So this signing for me would send out a horrible message. But we'll see. We'll see. I hope that's paper talk. I really do. I don't want him. And if he comes in and does well, I hold my hands up. But at this stage right now, we haven't waited 6 years to get into the Champions League to sign a right back from relegated Leicester City, who's 27 years of age, for £23 million. I'm sorry. That is not how we make progress as a team, by doing deals like that. I mean, they were being linked with a brother. What's his name? Fresneda or whatever his name is. Go and buy him. Young brother. You know, if that's what you want. Don't buy this guy. Let's end the poll. 80% of you say no. I can't believe 20% of you actually say yeah. Jashar, 26 months been a member. Castagne is rated higher than your guy, Kieran Tierney. He does not rate Tierney at all, by the way. We got Rambo from a relegated team, Big C. Again, though, even though I agree with you in what you're saying, we were in Europa League for a start. So expectation is not as high. Aaron Ramsdale at the time was 24 years of age. And he ticked a lot of the boxes in terms of playing style. It's just he hadn't played on that level. I've watched Castagne a few times this year. I think he looks bang average. And he's 27, 28 this year. And he costs... Nah. Level's supposed to go up, man. You get in the Champions League, things are supposed to change, man. Things have to change. So I hope this is just paper talk. I really do. I don't want him. Southern Gooner, big up yourself, bro. Why are we looking chicken scraps, brother? Where's the beat? I don't know what kind of signing this is. I don't know what this is if we sign him. I don't want that to happen at all. I don't want Timmy at Arsenal. I'm sorry. Timmy! South Park settings, people. Leave him at Leicester. Leicester fans telling me 6 out of 10. Like, I don't want him anywhere near Arsenal. Keep him at Leicester or move him on somewhere else. So, yeah, 80% of you say you don't want him. 20% say you do, which I find really interesting. I disagree, Curtis. He's better than Ben White and hardly ever injured. There you go. Don Arsenal rates him. Mister said Timmy. Trossard nutmegged him for Martinelli's goal. He was embarrassing. Not going to lie, Curtis. Cedric needs to go. Tommy possibly too if he can't stay fit. Benny Blanco isn't a natural right back. We need to grab quality. The thing is, I don't think Tomiyasu will leave. He's injured until the end of September. Who's going to buy him injured? So we'll have to see. Big C, you're a fan of a top club. Your standards should be high, not because you're an old-fashioned fan. Never change. You're right. You're right. McLovin said I'm 1% of the 20%. Yeah, he wants us to sign man like Castagne. Of course he does. Don said he's better than your inverted singing. Don just doesn't truly appreciate my singing voice. It needs to be given the respect it deserves. It's not inverted. It's a genuine singer. I've got big plans for X Factor next year. I'm joking, by the way. But, hey, I'll keep going. The singing will remain. 23 million is too much. Norton Cuffy looks ready for the backup role. Tomiyasu stays, said Roman. Well, there we go. We move on anyway. Nico said, no, meaning after he's healthy, he can't keep his consistent levels. We've got to move him on next summer. Yeah, I think if Tomiyasu, this is a big season for him. He's got to stay fit and perform this year properly. Put some respect on that singing voice. You're right. You're absolutely right. Anyway, let's move on. Castagne, let's hope. Well, so 20% of you say you want him, but for me, let's hope we don't get him. Interesting news regarding man like Reece Nelson. He's verbally agreed a new contract, and some of the details have come out about this new contract. And wow, no wonder he's signing a new deal. These are some of the details. Reece Nelson's new Arsenal contract will run until 2027 with an option for another year. He will earn £100,000 a week with a £5 million signing on bonus. Arsenal expect Nelson to sign the contract when he returns from vacation. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. He was on 40 grand a week. He's pulled out 100 bags and a £5 million signing on fee. I mean, he's done an Eddie and Nketiah. Arsenal, you know, sometimes with Arsenal, man, they reward people very easily, don't they? In reality, as much as I like Reiss Nelson and I actually think he's talented, he's hardly done anything at Arsenal, if we're being honest. Outside of the Bournemouth goal, what's he really done in an Arsenal shirt in the last few years? He's going to have to step his game up now. I tell you, you've got to give him some game time as well. 100 grand a week and a £5 million signing on fee. That is an incredible bit of business for Reiss Nelson. No wonder he's not going to Brighton. It all sounded like he was going to Brighton, but he probably saw the contract offer and said, I'm not leaving. He done a Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm not leaving. Wolf of Wall Street settings, man. What a contract. Absolutely outrageous contract. And fair play to him. Fair play, man. The young buck getting the bag. I can't knock him. 40 grand a week. Scores one banger and gets 100 bags for 5 years. He's chilling on the beach right now, probably popping bottles of champagne. Santa Claus Arsenal, Nelson's agent has played a blinder. Bournemouth goal tax, people. Bournemouth goal tax. Listen, fair play to him. I want to see him step up now. For me, it's now or never with Reiss Nelson. We've been talking about him for years. Oh, he's talented. He was ahead of Sancho in the under-21 setup. He was ahead of Saka in the Arsenal youth team. That conversation needs to end this season. That conversation needs to end. He needs to start performing. You've been given crazy amounts of loyalty there by getting that contract. Not only the contract, the length of the contract, but the finances you're getting with it. He's a player that could have easily just fizzled out and fell down the leagues. You know, this happens to players. So to get a 4-year deal and a 1-year option, 100 bags, 5-year, £5 million signing on bonus, I think I'm looking at Reiss now going, you've actually got to repay the football club now. We need to start seeing performances. I've always said there's talent there. There's no doubt he's a talented footballer. He's got to perform now. Players can't just be at Arsenal anymore for the ride, you know, just to get a lift home. You need to actually step your game up, people, now and start playing some of these guys. Nelson's got to start chipping in. Like I said, Nelson should be sitting there saying, look at the situation that Saka's in as a player. 290 grand a week, starting right wing for England. And look at the position that Reiss is in. It's time for Reiss to start showing what he's about. Reiss Nelson's 23 years of age. He turns 24 in December. Time for him to step up. So listen, congrats to him. Fair enough. Got a contract, talented player, needs to step up this year, and Arteta needs to actually give him game time. Like Latte said, Arteta don't play him. Reiss Nelson didn't start one game in the Premier League this season for Arsenal. So what is the guy supposed to do if he's not starting a game of football to actually prove how good he is? So needs to get game time this year. Raul said Arsenal reward bang average and don't spend for excellence. That's why it's hard to see them winning major honours. Well, we'll see this summer, won't we? That's for sure. South London's finest. I don't want players to be happy to just be on the bench, Big C. They need to step up. You're right. This screams to me we're not getting a winger, says Cliffo. I did say this the other day, Cliffo. I was like, if Nelson signs a new contract, how is there space for us to spend big money on a right winger or a winger at all? Because you're looking at it on the left, you're going, well, you've got Martinelli, Trossard, Smith Rowe was playing there before he got injured. And then on the right, you've got Saka and Nelson. Is there space to go and spend 50 or 60 million on a right winger and get them in there as well? You know, that's where it's interesting. Do we have room now to bring players in? Let's hope so. Brio said, how long has Rob Holding and El Neni been bench players? You can't be at a big club and not compete. It shows a lack of ambition from the player and a lack of development from the club. Some players, let's keep it 100 here, right? This is not me being disrespectful. This is just being honest and real. Rob Holding knows if he leaves Arsenal, he's not touching a big club again for the rest of his career. He's going bottom half of the Premier League, and he's going to have to prove himself because he's never actually played in the Premier League on a consistent basis. It only takes him having 2 bad years somewhere. He could be in the Championship or have to go abroad. So he knows, I can sit on Arsenal's bench probably for 10 years. They need British quota in the squad, English tax. He can pick up 50, 60 grand a week, which will make him a millionaire, but won't really affect Arsenal's wage bill that much. He'll train well. He'll never complain. He'll smile. He'll get new contracts. He'll retire a wealthy man. He'll get a testimonial. And he'll get some trophies in the cabinet. And he knows that he isn't going to succeed elsewhere. That's why El Neni is never wanting to leave the football club. That's why Rob Holding doesn't want to leave the football club, because they know it's going to go downhill. So I can't even blame them. I can't blame them at all. I think they've probably made the right decision. Rob Holding a few weeks ago was being linked. John Cross said that Sheffield United want to sign Rob Holding. They just finished runners-up in the Championship and been promoted to the Premier League. Rob Holding could go to Sheffield United. Realistically, they could get relegated because they're not, they're a team that have been relegated. All of a sudden, Rob Holding's in the Championship. His wages will get reduced. So, yeah, we've got to stop that from happening. Players can't just feel comfortable sitting on the bench. They have to be forced to try and get in that team. And are you good enough? Kamal said, would you be happy seeing Reece start games? I won't. I think that Arsenal missed out this year. I think they could have played him at times more. I suppose the problem you've got is you've got to use him more. Even if he's not starting, use him off the bench more. There are a lot of games this season where Saka should have been substituted and he could have made 5, 6, 7, 8 more appearances and maybe a few starts as well. So he needs to improve. He needs to prove himself. That is for sure. Jenkinson wrote the blueprint. He was perfect at it. He set the blueprint, man. Make yourself a millionaire and then move on. Simon said, Reece, fly back from holiday ASAP and sign that contract. I'm sure he could sign it on holiday and send it back anyway. We've got enough technology now. I'd get your pen on paper. Reece is as good as Madueke, said O'Malley. We'll see. We'll see with that. I think he needs to get into the team a little bit more and then prove himself. He's definitely got the ability, but it's about performance levels now. That's what we need. McLovin said, I think Arsenal are satisfied being a consistent Champions League level football club. Do you know what? Let's have a quick conversation about that before we move on to the last couple of stories. What you've got to look at, and the question that a lot of us are asking is, what is progression for Arsenal next season? As a fan base, we're saying, go and compete to win the league again. Push Manchester City even further than you did. Try and win it this season, or try and go far in that Champions League. Inter Milan are not a great team, but they got a good run and they got far. If we invest big time this year, maybe we could, or at least win a trophy, maybe the FA Cup. I hope that comment that you've said is not what they are thinking, but it worries me that it could be, because like I've always said, for Arsenal to go from second to first, we're going to have to spend a fortune. We're not 50 million away from Man City. We're not 80 million away. We're probably 250 million away from being able to nick that title off them. And are the Kroenkes going to want to spend that much money on Arsenal to do that? And that's just the transfer fees. Then you've got to bear in mind the wages, the signing on fees. They've just given Reece Nelson 5 million to sign a contract. So how much are they going to have to give Declan Rice as a signing on fee, or certain other players? So I hope that their mentality is not, let's just establish ourselves as a Champions League team for the next 3 or 4 years, because we've got to strike while the iron's hot and try and win trophies. Like Francesco said, win trophies and compete on all fronts. That's the minimum for next season. We've got no divine right to finish above Manchester City next season because they're that good. We could spend 250 million this summer and still finish second or third because the level of competition is so high, and we might go and spend 250 million, but Man City will probably go and spend 200 million. So how do you bridge the gap if they continue to build, But we've got to push as much as we can and compete. The minimum for me next season, you compete with Man City again. You're not a one-hit wonder, This ain't Jaquan 1. Here comes the 3 to the 4 to the 5. Remember that big tune that was? I never heard him after that. We can't be the Jaquan of Premier League title challengers. We need to, produce an album, hit after hit. I want to push Man City again next year, try and win the league. If they're too good, then they're too good. So be it. But I want us to be serious. Champions League, be serious. Go as far as possible. Inter Milan are not great. They got to the Champions League final. Take the trophies seriously. Don't dismiss the FA Cup. Don't go and spend, change 6 players and go and get beat. Arsenal next season for me, win a trophy and compete on all fronts. Properly compete on all fronts. That for me should be the bare minimum. I would take an FA Cup and push in City again and get into a Champions League quarter-final, semi-final. I want more than that, but that for me has to be the bare minimum. That has to be the bare minimum. Bigger fish to fry. Yeah, we're still looking for that fish. Man said, everybody in the club getting tin. That is absolutely outstanding from you, Bria. I love that. That is brilliant. We got a thunderstorm out here at the moment, by the way. It's going crazy. We've had great weather in England. Now I'm hearing lightning and all sorts going off. Hearing lightning, hearing thunder. Bridge the gap with an elite manager, Curtis. With ordinary players, but an elite manager, anything is possible. Well, you know my opinion on the manager. I still don't think he is an elite manager, but he is improving and the club are backing him. We'll see this season, can he go again? Can he go again? Will be the interesting part about it. But yeah, that's a conversation to have at the end of the season or maybe in the middle of the season. Let's talk about man like Declan Rice. Nimbo said, let's start with the Emirates Cup. Yeah, we play Monaco in the Emirates Cup. Ben Jacobs, who will be on this show on Tuesday, by the way. Wednesday, sorry. Transfer window opens on Wednesday. So make sure you are locked in for that one. 2 o'clock on Wednesday. He has put out some information today and a few other people saying that they expect an offer to be made for Declan Rice this week. Obviously, he concluded his West Ham business last week, winning the Conference League. A lot of the players, though, are on international duty. There's 2 England games in the next 10 days, which is very frustrating. Obviously, these things tend to slow down transfers. But still no excuse. Still no excuse. Arsenal have to get moving for me. I've said this many times. If Arsenal want Declan Rice, they have to get moving because the reality of this situation is this. Manchester United want him as well. And I think that Rice wants to come to Arsenal, but Mudryk wanted to come to Arsenal. The sticking point of this deal is going to be when we have to sit down and negotiate with West Ham. I think Declan Rice would be prepared to come to Arsenal. That means he can stay in London, doesn't have to move house. He knows Saka, Ramsdale, Ben White. He knows Eddie and Nketiah from under 21 duty. He knows the way we play. You saw him talking to Odegaard when we played them at West Ham and they were hugging. He signed a shirt for Declan Rice. The problem is going to be when we go to West Ham and West Ham say we want that, that and that, are Arsenal going to be prepared to match what they want? Because United have been here before. They spent 90 million last year for Anthony. They've spent 90 million for Pogba. They've spent 75 on Maguire and Lukaku. They're comfortable dropping big money on players and paying a lot of it up front. We've only been in that category once with Pepe and we got stung, by the way. So we've got to be careful. The dynamics of a Declan Rice deal can change very quickly. If Gundogan leaves Manchester City, which he could, he might not, but we know that the Saudis want him and they will pay him a fortune. All of a sudden, Man City might go, do you know what? We need a centre mid. We'll take Declan Rice. Man United get taken over by the Qataris and they've got unlimited money. They'll say, we'll give you 100 million and we'll pay the majority of it up front. So Arsenal cannot wait around. If they want to get Declan Rice, I think they need to sign him quickly. I think the offer needs to be made this week. And we need to get moving and shaking because other clubs will spend the money and they'll put the money down. Chris said, Curtis, don't get at us. United, we're not doing any business until the sale is announced. Now, after that, we'll have oil money, so anything is possible. I see you still being heavily linked with Mason Mount, though. Oh, you're right. City are buying Kovacic, yeah, so they might not actually need a centre mid. That's a good point. Big C, knowing Edu, will offer a burger and 2 hot dogs with onions. I don't even think he'd offer that much. I don't understand why we don't use unwanted players to trade with these negotiations. I think the problem is, Tony, that our unwanted players are not very good. I suppose, could you throw a Pepe at West Ham, but he's on big money. There was a rumour yesterday that West Ham would like to take Smith Rowe as part of the deal, but Arsenal don't want Smith Rowe to leave. So that's one that you're probably not going to be able, you're not going to want to do. But if you went to them with a Tavares, a Lokonga, a Cedric, or, you know, the players that we're happy to get rid of, they probably wouldn't want any of them. Yeah, Balogun, they'd possibly take him. I think Balogun could actually get a bigger move than West Ham. But I hear what you're saying. United aren't getting sold. The Glazers are going nowhere. Listen, my opinion on that, Jim Ratcliffe will buy the Man United, because that will enable the Glazers to stay there. What the hell is going on outside? You got an absolute thunderstorm outside. Simon said that Inter Milan starting 11 costs less than Grealish. It's not all about money. Exactly. And look how well they did. If it wasn't for Lukaku, they would have at least gone to extra time. So if Arteta is not elite, besides Pep, who is? Carlo Ancelotti, Zinedine Zidane, Jurgen Klopp. Those guys there who've won the big trophies, man, they're the elite managers. Arteta can't be considered elite. He hasn't done enough to be elite. An FA Cup and one top 4 after spending 500 million doesn't make you elite. And Luis Enrique's achieved elite things as well with that Barcelona team. Roberto Mancini's done great things. Won the Euros with Italy, won the Premier League with City. They're the kind of guys we're talking about if you're talking about elite. It's too early to call him that. Arsenal above all said, Big C hearing that Caicedo will choose Chelsea over us because they are paying bigger wages. I mean, if that happens, that's unforgivable. He's on 60 grand a week. It's not difficult to negotiate that deal. That rain, bro, the rain is absolutely hammering down. I thought it sounds like it's flooding out there. It's going crazy. Man's out here saying Arteta is elite. I mean, I can't believe man actually used a super chat to question that. There's no way he's elite. He's done nowhere near enough to be considered elite. And that's nothing against him. That's just the harsh reality. To be elite, you've got to win major, major trophies. But listen, in terms of Rice and Caicedo, I've always had my doubts as to whether we'll get both of them. I just seen a story that's, yeah. There's a story I've just seen. Arsenal fear losing Brighton midfielder Caicedo to Chelsea, with football transfers suggesting that the money could be a decisive factor. Arsenal had been expected to simply return to Brighton to match their asking price of 70 million, but Chelsea have become increasingly bullish over a deal, which has led to increasing fears that a second Mudryk situation is developing. So there you go. There you go. That's already being thrown around, that finances are going to be a major part of this Caicedo deal. And that, for me, is an absolute shambles as Arsenal Football Club. It's too easy for other clubs to get Arsenal out of a race for a player. It really annoys me as well. How come they get pushed aside so easy? We're in the Champions League. We say we're a bigger club than Chelsea, which I agree with, by the way, but we don't act like it. We're meant to go to Caicedo and say, listen, don't worry about Chelsea. Whatever wage they offer you, we'll match it, right? If they offer 80 million, we'll pay 80 million as well. And then give him the choice. He's going to choose us over them. But they will get outbid. They'll offer Brighton more money. They'll offer him 20, 30, 40 grand a week more wages. And he'll probably end up going to Chelsea, which is frustrating. It's very frustrating because he's a player that we should be going for. And that same scenario with Caicedo, we've got to be very careful that doesn't occur with Declan Rice, because it seems that when clubs outbid us, we have no response. There's nowhere to go for us. And this is what I always say. Arsenal are a bigger club, but the ownership, a lot of people have been debating over the last few days, you know, oh, Man City now a bigger club than this club, or bigger than Arsenal, this, that, the other. Ultimately, being a bigger club doesn't actually mean that much in the modern game. It doesn't mean that much. Football has changed. Being a bigger club is this background. It's just history and memories. It doesn't actually mean that much. Have you ever heard a player in recent times say, I went to that club over them because they're bigger? No. If Kylian Mbappe sat down now to negotiate with Arsenal and Manchester City, he's not going to go, well, you know, Thierry Henry and the Invincibles. Who cares? Unless you're a fan of the club, that means nothing to you. He's going to go, well, how good are they on the pitch right now? Oh, they're the best team in the world. How good are you? Well, you finished second. We don't really know what you're going to do next year. They don't care. They do not care about that. Being a bigger club nowadays is nothing but bragging rights for the fan of that club. It means very little in football. It means very little. Doesn't matter. Haaland, probably the best, along with Mbappe, the best striker in the world, young striker. If it was about history, he would have gone to Real Madrid. He would have gone somewhere. He went to Man City. Why did he go to Man City? Because of Pep, because of the money, because of the success, because of the style of football. No one cares. Only us as fans. So when people run around with this, yeah, we're a bigger club, we're a bigger club. Sometimes you've got to let go of that. Got to let go of that and say, are we the better club? I want us to be the better club. The better club means you're successful right now. It means that big players would choose you over other big clubs. Are you the better club? Not necessarily the bigger club. Bigger club is history. Yeah, your fan base is massive. Yeah, you've had great times in the past. Their memories will live with you forever. Brilliant. But also, what are you doing right now is what it's all about. I'm telling you now, I'm shameless with it. Bring the oil to Arsenal. I'm telling you, bring the oil. If them Qatar man don't buy Man United and Jim Ratcliffe, come and buy Arsenal. I'm telling you, I don't want to be sitting here reading stories when we finish second in the Premier League, right? That Chelsea, who are finished 12th in the Premier League, them man are on page 2, are treating us like the year 11s to the year 7s, taking man's lunch money. Putting their hand in our pocket and taking our lunch money out of our pocket. In 12th place, Todd Bowley. Kroenke, even from a financial point of view, he should be sitting there going, brother, I'm worth 12.5 billion. And this little man, Todd Bowley, with 5 billions out here financially bullying me. Just flex on him just to show him that you're richer than him. Even if you don't care about Arsenal, just say, yo, this little 5 billion man trying to sign players ahead of me. I've got 5 billion in a shoebox underneath the bed. You know what I mean? You're meant to just dash the money down. Just out of personal pride, he should be like, what? Todd Bowley's trying to sign Caicedo. I'll just pay the money up front in cash. But you know what? He doesn't really care about Arsenal that much. You know, he cares about the Denver Nuggets, though, don't he? He's at every game high-fiving the players as they're about to win. But it's Arsenal. They'll make excuses. Oh, we can't afford Rice and Caicedo. You know, we can't get both of them. We can't do what Chelsea can do with money and Man City can do. We can. It's worth 12.5 billion. I know it's not how business works, Kevish, but what I'm saying is the narrative in the Arsenal fan base is always that we can't afford to do that, and we can afford to do that, you know? What about olive oil? Arsenal like a PR after all. Bro, we need petrol. We need petrol. Bring on Dangote. He's not serious. Arsenal with Kroenke is like bio oil. Bro, I'm telling you, they're not serious. He ain't from the streets. He doesn't know about flexing on your ops. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And we are the side dish. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating. Gunnar Real said, top 4 is a trophy, Curtis. Stop complaining. Exactly. I'm waiting for the parade. The we finish second parade. Manchester City are having a parade tonight, celebrating the treble. I'm telling you now, and I've said it for years, the only thing that stops Arsenal being at the top is the ownership. It's the ownership. Do you know what? A lot of people message me when I put that tweet out saying we won't win the Champions League or the Prem with the Kroenkes. They said, you weren't complaining when we were top of the Prem. I said, well, in life, do you complain when you're in a positive situation? Not really, do you? You don't complain. If you're at work and everything's great, you're not going to complain about it. You complain when things aren't going right. So why would I complain about the Kroenkes when we were top? That just looks like that is me having an agenda. I complained when it went wrong. I complained when the January window closed and I could see that we've taken shortcuts again. And I complained when the January window came back to bite us because we didn't have the squad depth that we needed. And that's my question. Now, listen, I might sit here by September the 1st and say, you know what? They've shot me there. They've spent 250 million. We've signed 5 high-quality players. I'm always... One thing about me, you can't be wrong and strong. A lot of you will have heard that saying. You can't be wrong and strong. If you're wrong, you have to soften your stance, right? When we signed Ramsdale, I was like, no, don't want him, don't rate him, dodgy keeper. You know what I'm saying? He's had a good season, good couple of seasons. So I have to calm down on that. I can't still sit here and go, oh, Ramsdale. No, I have to relax. Say, you know what? You've done well. Let me give you your credit and respect. Still think there's another level we can go to. Anyone who watched that Champions League final on Saturday, do you see that performance from Onana, by the way? You see how comfortable the guy was on the ball. The man's dropping his shoulder on Haaland and going past him. That's what I mean when I say Aaron Ramsdale has done well. He's done better than I was expecting him to be. Is there still another level above Aaron Ramsdale? 100%. I looked at Onana on Saturday and I thought I would love to have him as the Arsenal goalkeeper. You know, we nearly got this guy for like £7 million, but because of the ban, they probably didn't want him. He is absolutely outstanding. And guess what? Chelsea are being linked with him. 12th place Chelsea are being linked with him because they're just going to throw the bag again. You know, Nkunku's coming in. They'll probably outbid us for Caicedo. They'll get Onana. No guarantee of success, of course, but the ambition can't be questioned. C Unit, big up Maxwell. Onana was playing Keepy Up, is smoking on our press. Yo, he's outrageously good. Absolutely brilliant keeper. Young Gunner said, heard we've been linked with Havertz. I don't think I've seen a worse finisher in recent times. And they want 70 mil. Don't bring Havertz anywhere near us. Anywhere near us. He's horrible to watch. Up front, he is terrible. I don't care about the one goal in the Champions League. Black said, this is why you don't send Edu to Naples. Like I said, he won't come back. Akash said, he's a new member. Big up Akash for becoming a new member. Really appreciate it. We're going to have a member stream today. And I'm going to do it at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock. I thought I said, 4 o'clock today. 4 o'clock today. Member stream. Roundup of the season. Get yourself involved. I'll put the link on the community page just before. So get yourself involved. We're looking ahead as well. What do you want to see happen moving forward? Big up Akash with the super chat as well. Let's get a few comments in, then we'll round up. Club in 12th is bullying Arsenal. Shambolic if that happens. Assassin, Curtis, do you remember in 2011, Usmanov, who's richer than the Kroenkes, wanted a full share of the club. Arsenal fans were protesting. They don't want a sugar daddy and they want to be clean. Listen, I was going to games. I heard what they were saying. We don't want that kind of ownership, blah, blah, blah. Now, look, it's probably put us 10 years behind these clubs. Imagine if he'd owned the club during this time, how much money we would have spent. You wouldn't have got stupid deals like 40 million and a pound for Luis Suarez. Gonzalo Higuain going to Napoli when he should have come to Arsenal. And those kind of deals where finance has stopped us getting those deals over the line. Big C, do you think a player can change and be stronger in a different team? 100%. 100%. In the right setup, you can be a world beater. We've seen that multiple times. Look at Lukaku. Terrible at Chelsea. Terrible at Man United. Was a world beater at Inter. There's loads. You could go through tons of scenarios where players I remember Diego Forlan. People used to laugh at him at Man United. He was that bad. He won a Golden Boot in La Liga. He won the Golden Boot in La Liga, yet they were laughing at him in England. It happens. Kroenke's busy with the NBA Finals. Nothing will happen till it's done. Oddly, nobody at Arsenal seems bothered with how to counter the Haaland problem in our quest to match City's quality. We don't have a striker. That's interesting. A lot of people now starting to get round to that way of thinking that we need to sign a striker. Akash said, will Arteta and Edu allow the Kroenkes to flex? Well, if they give them the money, they need to do the right thing, you know, and get the right players. Curtis, you got to pull up on the Castagne snobbery. Man City signed a relegated Ake for 45 million from Bournemouth. If that was Arsenal signing Ake, what would you have said? The problem we've got, Eldot, is that I'm not being snobbish because Castagne has been relegated. Because if we were signing James Maddison, I wouldn't be complaining because I think he's a quality player. So it's not snobbery because Castagne has been relegated. It's because when I've watched him, I think he's a bang average right back. Also, the levels of expectation and pressure on Manchester City are not the same. Nathan Ake does not need to play for Manchester City. If they play him or not, they will still be good. They've played Akanji at left back. They played Bernardo Silva at left back against Arsenal and still won the game. We need Castagne, if he was the one to come in, to be good. I think we all knew that Nathan Ake was a good player anyway. He'd been at Chelsea. He's younger. He knew the Premier League. He was in the Dutch squad. He already had the foundations, you know, that he could become a better player, you know. So I think it's a little bit different. I understand your point, but I just think it's a little bit different, the circumstances. Ake was a better player at the World Cup. Kamal said, bro, I've watched Castagne. You cannot convince me he's good. I think he's bang average. And just because we're linked with him, I'm not gonna pretend I rate him because we might sign him. Young Skin, Curtis, I saw on the news Rice is not leaving. So Rice was approached by somebody on TikTok who I think got an autograph and said, you know, please stay at West Ham or something. And he said, I'm not going anywhere. Doesn't mean a lot. Doesn't mean a lot. What's he going to say? Oh, I'm leaving. You know, he's not going to do that, is he? He's going to play it down. I'm a West Ham player. I love the club. Just want a trophy. That means very little. You know, when that money turns up, the chairman told you, you know, the day after that he's leaving. That tells you everything. Tony said, I heard Pep say that the reason they have gone to the next level was because of the defenders he signed. He did. We need to stop shipping goals in all competitions to be competitive with City. That was a very interesting comment that he made. Yeah, I think Peter Schmeichel it was who asked him, you know, why have you gone to the next level? And he said something about City have now got defenders that want to defend. And they're so much more solid defensively now. Now, when you look at Arsenal, when you look at the Premier League table, as crazy as it is, for all the goals and all the success of Man City this season, it is the goals conceded that cost us because we couldn't stop shipping goals at the end of the season. You know, we were conceding goals left, right and centre, and that's the difference. We only scored 6 goals less than Manchester City this season. 6 goals. And this is with a Man City with Haaland up front. We scored 6 goals less than Man City. And we were on a terrible run at the end of the season. The problem is that we conceded 10 more goals than them. That's going to cost you 3 or 4 games. And we saw that. We lost to Brighton. You know, that's what cost us. Mourinho always used to say it, defences will win your titles. And that's the problem. And as I said, outside of our main 4, we start to struggle. Probably Kieran Tierney. You might get away with Tomiyasu. But you ain't getting away with Rob Holding. You ain't getting away with Kivior at the top level. Yeah, Kivior, I don't want to write him off, even though I was quite critical of him the other day on the sell, loan, keep. But do you know what I mean? City brought Akanji in, as McLovin said, and look how good he's been for them. You know, he played over Kyle Walker in the Champions League final. I know that Walker wasn't fully fit, but you didn't see any noticeable drop-off in the level of quality, and that's what we need. We need to be able to, Saliba's out, this guy goes in, no difference, and that's what we don't have in certain positions. That's what you need. Defenses win titles. Defenses win titles. So, yeah, I thought it was a great point from Pep. He's been playing, if you look at this season, he's been playing with 4 defenders. It's not no more Zinchenko inverted left back, or, he's playing with actual defenders in them positions. So, Akanji was shocking. I don't think he was shocking. He played the pass that led to the goal. He's not a natural fullback. He's never going to be as good as Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker's outstanding fullback, one of the best right backs in the world. But look at John Stones. I mean, John Stones, for me, is world class. Honestly, I think John Stones is world class. The role that he's taken on in the last few weeks and the way he's played it is nothing short of just unbelievable. How he looks better than some midfielders look. And he's been there for like a couple of months. Obviously, they would have worked on it for a while. But John Stones is one of the most underrated players. He's absolutely outstanding. He really is. I just pinned it in the comments. If anyone wants to join as a member. Someone was just saying there, how do you join as a member? So I've just put it in the comments before we round up. Curtis, would you take Laporte, yes or no? Yeah, listen, we're not good enough for me to say no to Laporte. We're not good enough. He's a very good centre-back. We probably more could do with a right-sided centre-back than left, but I'd take him. General John Stones, unbelievable. Listen, I know he's inverting, but on the ball, he looks like he's played in midfield for 10 years. He's outstanding. He is one of England's best players by far, because if you survive in a Pep Guardiola team for that long, there's something special about you, because Pep has no sentiment. He got rid of Aguero, he got rid of Sterling, he got rid of Sané, and some of them I don't even think he should have got rid of. But Stones is absolute different gravy. Amount of goals from our midfielders is ignored. Now, they've done well this year. I think Xhaka got 7, Odegaard got 15. We got a couple from Partey. What we need next season is Jesus got to stay fit all season. Even though I think we need a striker, we need Jesus, because Jesus got 11 league goals, but he was injured for 3 months. So you would have liked to have thought that he could have got another 5 or 6 goals. I think if he'd have got 17, 18 goals, we would have been happy with that. And then we need to concede a few less goals, be defensively more solid. Pep for the England job would be brilliant. But I think he said he wants the Spanish job if he does an international job. Remember when Pep bought him from Everton, they were saying it was a waste of money for 50 million. It was a big risk at the time, wasn't it? Everton, people weren't sure how he would acclimatise. Do you think Pep needs to move on? I mean, there's a story today he'll leave at the end of his contract, but that's 2 more years. It's a long time. He's obviously enjoying himself in Manchester. He got rid of Ronaldinho and Eto'o as well. Yeah. But they didn't suffer. They won the treble. But anyway, I'm going to round up there, people, because we're back on in about half an hour for the member stream. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. If you're watching on replay, let me know in the comments what you think. Timothy Castagne. Chelsea putting the pressure on for this Caicedo deal. Surely Arsenal in second place should be able to flex their muscle on Chelsea and get that deal done. And reports that the bid for Declan Rice is going to go in this week. Are you happy with that deal? Do you think he's worth 92 million? Who else would you go for if not for him? And how do you use him in this Arsenal team? Do you try and get him to become a more attacking player and put him in the Xhaka role? Or do you just use him as a box-to-box player? Or would you use him as a more defensive player? Let me know in the comments. Member stream today at 4 o'clock. I will throw the link on the community page just before. The link's in the chat there, pinned if you want to become a member. Thank you very much for tuning in. And I will see you all later, people. Bless.